Yes, don't adjust yourselves, but it is Wednesday. It is another episode of Sports Over Topics. Yes, indeed. But thank you for joining me today on the podcast for episode number 79 of the podcast. Yes, unusual. Wednesday, not Tuesday, in which I post the podcast. And mostly that was due to the postponements of NFL games, which I'll touch up on in a bit. But yeah, we had some postponed games that went on Monday and Tuesday. Yes, we had Tuesday football for 2 seasons. Last year was the Bills and the Titans. This time it was a doubleheader between the Seahawks and Rams and Washington and Philly. But with that, thank you for joining me. If you like this video and you want to see more sports overview topics where I cover sports on the channel, click that subscribe. Help out the channel, help out the video, and help out yourself if you want to see more of me covering sports. But nonetheless, let's get into week 15. Very good week. Another solid week of picks. 12-4. 12-4 with picks for this week. No buys. The buys are done for the rest of the season, so we'll have 16 game weeks the rest of the regular season for the next 3 weeks, including this week. But had some solid games for this week. And let's just start off with a bang. Thursday Night Football. It was Chiefs Chargers in SoFi. Chiefs won 34-28 in overtime. I mean, the Chargers beat the Chiefs earlier this season. That was when Chiefs were on their skid and were turning the ball over, and defense looked bad. And of course, they've made changes since then. And Brandon Staley was ultra aggressive on fourth down. Went for it 5 times, ultimately losing by 6 in overtime. Travis Kelce had a career day. See, I don't get why people. I mean, if you're a Chiefs fan, if you're a Chiefs player, I get if you back your team. But sometimes people just have to say things to hype themselves up or motivate them. Travis Kelce talked about after the game how people were counting them out, this and that. I'll just say this because I've already touched upon it before. Chiefs were playing bad when they were 3-4. Yes, they were winning. Yes, they were putting up points, but they did not look good on defense, and their offense was turning the ball over. And yes, now they're on this 7-game winning streak, but to not acknowledge that and just say, oh, people are counting this out, well, you weren't looking good. Is that's my only touch. Patrick Mahomes, he missed on some throws, but overall, Kelsey cleaned it out for the win. Donald Parham Jr., he took a bad tumble in the end zone, and hopefully he's okay. But yeah, solid game to start the week, and and then the only Saturday game because Raiders Browns were postponed till Monday. Colts beat the Patriots 27-17. Colts, Colts have been dangerous as of late. Now, Patriots also have been on their 7-game win streak. But, Jonathan Taylor, the run game, and their defense has been coming up as of late. Carson Wentz didn't do a lot, but he moved the chains, and that blocked punt for a touchdown really did the Patriots in. From there, it just wasn't quite the same. Now they came back, made 20-17, but Hunter Henry had a hell of a day. He had 2 touchdowns, but yeah, Colts continue this ride of momentum of being a dangerous team in the playoffs. Then move to Sunday. Cowboys beat the Giants 21-6. Cowboys, with a win, they're now the 2nd seed in the NFC. But their offense, now, the divisional opponent and the Giants have stellar pieces on defense. And, their run game is quite banged up. But Cowboys got it done. And, their defense has been primarily picking them up as of late. But yeah, Cowboys keep going. Mike Glenn, he didn't last the whole game. Jake Fromm, he win the game, finish it. Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones is done for the season with neck injury, but yeah, Cowboys keep winning. Then the Texans spoil Darrell Bevel's interim head coaching debut as for the Jaguars, 30-16. Although the Jags did show a bit of something, scoring 16 points, they did lean on James Robinson more. Of course, one of the straws that broke the camel's back of Urban Meyer in Jacksonville was James Robinson hit his benching. Now, I imagine the rest of the way they're going to ride him more, try and make it easier for Trevor Lawrence. He had 1 touchdown, but in James Robinson. But yeah, Texans, Brandon Cooks. Dave Mills had a heck of a day. Yeah, good for Mills and good for Cooks. It just hopefully they Jaguars, because you know they're gonna get a new coach. Hopefully they can build some momentum after this game, despite a loss. And then one of these more surprises of the day, although I picked the Steelers to win. Steelers won 19-13 in Pittsburgh over Titans. This was more about the Titans losing than the Steelers winning. And, you know, Titans have been being themselves the last few games. They had 4 turnovers in this game. The picked interception, the fumble in which the receiver was down, but they didn't call that. Another fumble by Ferkser. I mean, they're still performing on offense. They're still moving the ball in Tennessee. You know, Deontay Foreman, good to see. He had 100 yards on the ground. But hopefully, because A.J. Brown was designated to return off IR, hopefully he can come back because it's a crucial game for Thursday Night Football against San Francisco. As for Pittsburgh, they stay in it. They stay alive. 7-6-1. Only a half a game out of first place in the North, which crazy ideal, but they're still in it in the playoff race. And it's weird to say because, you know, Big Ben, we know, is on the back nine. This is likely going to be his final year with the team. And they just get it done, against Baltimore. And then here against Tennessee, they just keep going, keep going. And speaking of keep going, Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are pretty hydrated still as they win their 6th straight, back to 500. Now it's 7-7 with a win over the rival Jets, 31-24. Tua, it wasn't a very pretty day for Tua. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It felt like a slow game, really, for the first half, and then it kind of picked up pace in the second half. Duke Johnson, the Duke, which Browns fans will remember. The Duke, he had over 100 yards rushing, which helped them. Their defense is still playing well. Look out for Dolphins. Look out for Dolphins. It's hard to describe, but they're getting it done. And then the Lions. Another big Depends who you are. One of the biggest upsets of the season. The Lions beat the Cardinals 30-12 in Detroit for their home crowd. Jared Goff played great. You know, the thing about the Lions, before I'll touch on the Cardinals in a sec. The thing about the Lions is they're good in the trenches. They're good in the trenches. They have their own line when it's right and it's healthy. You got Taylor Decker, you got Frank Ragnow, you got Vitae, you got Panay Sewell. You got a damn good O line. And when you run the ball well, Craig Reynolds played very well, which allowed Jared Goff to play a great game. Great game for Goff. You know, yeah, they just got done, and good for Detroit and good for Dan Campbell and good for that team. Because obviously they're not going to the playoffs, but this more about next year. Building a foundation for a team to look forward to next year. Um, I will say some people are bagging on Goff, saying that perhaps he should be gone in the offseason. I would not shy away from Goff, especially with some of these quarterbacks coming into the draft. Now, Kenny Pickett, I think is going to be very, very good. But unless you get him, then I think it may be smart for Detroit to focus on elsewhere in the draft. Because Goff, the last few weeks with the win over the Vikings and the win over the Cardinals, is showing you that he can be a good piece. He's not a great quarterback, but he's showing you he can be a good piece in this rebuilding foundation of the Detroit Lions. As for the Cardinals, they didn't beat themselves in this game. It was more of they got beat, I will say, by the Lions. Now, an emotional game, a close game, a game that you kind of say was there to be had versus the Rams. They lost, and one loss turned into two. And no DeAndre Hopkins, you know, they will miss him, but you also have to say that Chase Edmonds and James Conner weren't 100%. If they were, I'm pretty positive they would have had more stats and they would have been a greater impact for the Cardinals. Now, they still have a plethora of weapons on offense, despite no DeAndre Hopkins for the rest of the regular season. They still have AJ Green, Rondell Moore, Christian Kirk, Zach Ertz. I mean, they have pieces on the offense. Along with their defense players. I mean, I'm more surprised about their defense than I am about the offensive performance. Because I understand with DeAndre Hopkins, there can be a skid of production, but their defense, they will not have JJ Watt until probably the playoffs. Still got Chandler Jones, you still got Simmons, Collins. Jalen Thompson has been a machine for that secondary. Buddy Murphy, or Byron Murphy, excuse me. Buda Baker, a lot of talent still on that defense. But credit to the Lions and Cardinals, they got to rebound quick because they have the Colts Christmas night. And then the Bills rebounded 31-14. They beat the kickerless Carolina Panthers. Zane Gonzalez, their kicker, suffered an injury during warm-ups, and they had kicker tryouts and warm-ups with Brandon Zylstra, with PJ Walker. They this game could have been a lot closer if they had a kicker. Because I saw this game was kind of ugly. This game was kind of close, but with no kicker, they were forced to go on fourth down pretty much the whole game. And the Bills were able to chip away on their defense. Josh Allen, is Josh Allen. They did run the ball a bit more, which is a good sign. Panthers are a good defense, but we'll just have to see how this goes going forward because it's going to be a key game Sunday in Foxborough between the Patriots and the Bills Part 2. So we'll see about that, but good win for the Bills. And then, speaking of ugly and close, the Bengals move in the first place of the AFC North. 15-10 with a win over the Broncos. Both teams coming in this 7-6. Both teams needing a big win going in the postseason direction. The Bengals took this one, and the momentum shift came at the end of the first half when Brandon McManus missed a field goal, in which took the Bengals down 6-3 at halftime, but instead, Bengals lead the charge down the field, and Evan McPherson hits a franchise record 58-yard field goal. And just like that, it's 6-3 the other way for the Bengals. And Trey Hendrickson, I would say, is the most underrated, arguably the most underrated signing of the offseason. 10 straight games with half a sack, or at least a sack. 13 sacks on the year. It would be a damn shame, and I know because there's You have Myles Garrett and you have TJ Watt and Crosby. But it would be a damn shame if Trey Hendrickson is left out of the Pro Bowl. And he should get some votes for Defense Player of the Year. He is rocking for the Bengals. And then speaking of rocking, 49ers win 31-13 over the Falcons. Deebo Samuel still playing his arse off. 1,000 yards now on the season. Had another rushing touchdown. 5 straight games with a rushing touchdown for him. The offense is grooving. Nick Bosa is still leading the way. 15 sacks now on the season. Just 49ers heading in the right direction. Falcons, otherwise, they were 6-7 coming in this game. It's like, okay, if they can pull off the upset, then they can start to look upwards. But now with the loss, they're likely heading down. And then, speaking of looking up, Packers number one sole possession of the 1 seed now in the AFC with a 31-30 victory in Baltimore over the Ravens. Tyler Huntley played very good. It was 31-17, but 2 touchdown drives by the Ravens. And again, John Harbaugh being aggressive, going for 2, going for the win instead of a tie. I like the decision, but wrong play call, I will say, for the Ravens and Packers. Hold on. Ravens dropped their 3rd straight, but they still keep going. They are still fighting. And I don't know what to say about this, really. 9-0. 9-0. Saints beat the Bucks on Sunday Night Football in Tampa. I mean, now, Saints have found a formula, you could kind of say, with guarding Tom Brady and the Bucks. Now Brady is 1-4 against the Saints as the starting quarterback of the Bucks. 0-4 in the regular season. Now, last year was a blowout, and then Bucks got their revenge in the postseason and the playoffs, which was ultimately Drew Brees' final game. Now, the thing people forget, I will say, about that playoff game is Saints were ahead and looking to take a big lead, but they fumbled during the game and led to scoring drives by the Bucks and ultimately took it there. Also, no Deontay Harris or Taysom Hill in that game, but This game, Taysom Hill, he didn't do a lot. Obviously, it was more of a defensive effort. And Cameron Jordan, he had 2 sacks, now 101 as far as sacks ever for Cameron Jordan. He missed his first game ever last week. And he said he doesn't want to miss a game ever again. I hope not, because he's a Hall of Famer in my eyes for the Saints. And, you know, Onyemata, Davenport, DeMario Davis, Malcolm Jenkins, Marshawn Lattimore, they held their own. Now, I know Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Fournette, they all went out with injuries. But still, you have to give credit where credit is due. The Saints got done in Tampa. They just have a formula with being Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. Now, as for Bucks, they'll have to do it the rest of the way without Chris Godwin. And Antonio Brown back should help. Now, they have to monitor the injuries of both Fournette and Evans. They did sign Le'Veon Bell. So I imagine that Fournette's going to be on ice for a while. But I guess good for Brady because we know he likes to throw to his running backs out of the backfield. And a key strength of Le'Veon Bell is catching passes out of the backfield. So interesting how they orchestrate him into the offense. But yeah, have to monitor for the Bucks as they fall to the 3 seed in the NFC. And then what was a weird way, just writing the score, but final score, but what was a weird way to end week 15 was Monday Night Football in Chicago. Vikings beat the Bears 17-9. Now, first of all, we know the Vikings now 7-7, now 500. They have a chance to make the playoffs. And we know pretty much all this year they played with fire and pretty much all their games have been close. This game felt weird because there were penalties, non-calls. Justin Fields, he would move the ball. Robert Quinn, although I must say, had 2 more sacks. Now has 16 on the year. Good for him. Good for Robert Quinn. Got a big contract last year. Didn't do much last year, but he's doing well. Earned that contract this year. Now, Bears did not score a touchdown till literally the final second. For 59 minutes and 59 seconds, they did not score a touchdown. But they did. I mean, look, Matt Nagy's record, you know, first year was great. They were 12-4 in 2018. They had the number one defense. Their offense, was good. Systematic, pretty, not really pretty, but kind of trickster play-ish was the offense. 2019, 2020, you know, they were 8-8. But the thing is, last year they were 5-1. You were thinking, okay, this team is really looking up. But they had that collapse. Still made the playoffs as the 7th seed, but not much there. Now this year they're 4-10. You know, I like the players that Ryan Pace GM has drafted and put into place for the season. But or as of late. But Matt Nagy, you know, people are hyping on Trubisky, and Trubisky is not a great quarterback. He's okay, but it felt like there were dissension between the two, and they pointed fingers at Trubisky, they let him go, and now it looks like they're gonna let go of Matt Nagy. And again, I like the players that Ryan Pace has brought to the table, and I think they're good foundational pieces. It's just I think they need the right coach, which is strange to hear because Matt Nagy was coach of the year in 2018, but it's a what have you done for me lately league, and right now they're 4-10. They were 3-2 and have gone 1-8 since. I mean, there's not much to be said other than sorry, Matt Nagy. He'll probably end up on another staff, but yeah, it's time for a change in Chicago. And it's hard to say because I like the Bears. I like when they're good. It feels like much like much like Green Bay because it's a cold, great atmosphere, whether it's Lambeau or Soldier Field. It's a great atmosphere. It's a great football town, but it's just not. They're not very good. But yeah, that was week 15 there. Solid week with some solid games. Oh, haha. The postponed games. So, Monday afternoon, Raiders beat the Browns. Browns had not 18 players on the COVID list. Lost Tack McKinley for the rest of the season, so was 19 for part of the second half. Nick Mullins, he played okay. Honestly, you have to be more impressed with the Browns than the Raiders because, well, Browns lost this. They could have went to first place with a win of the North, but they lost last second field goal. And they dropped to last place in the North. Whereas the Raiders, they get back to 500, get back to 7-7, a game out of the playoff race, and they're still alive despite all this dark cloud of stuff that has been hovered over them throughout this whole season. But they got done. Crosby, like I said earlier, made the Pro Bowl. Also, Denzel Perriman, good for him. Yeah, good. Not much to say other than good for them all for making the Pro Bowl. They also had a third, but I forgot who. Or I have to look again. But also Myles Garrett. He made the Pro Bowl as well. Nick Chubb. I would have made their whole O line part of the Pro Bowl, but that was not really to be. But Raiders still stay alive. Then we get to Tuesday games. So Philly defeated Washington 27-17. Washington was down to their third string quarterback, Garrett Gilbert. Heineke and Kyle Allen were both still in concussion protocol, couldn't make it in time. So Jalen Hurts and the offense just overwhelmed them in the run game, although it took a while. 10-0 for Washington. Great pick. Something you don't see every day. Great pick for Landon Collins. Landed off Dallas Goedert's heel. His heel, and wound up in the arms of Landon Collins. Just something you won't see in another dozen years. But, excuse me, Washington did what they could. Their defense also had many players on the COVID list. Jalen Hurts had over 300 total yards. And, yeah, good for Hurts. Good for Philly. Now, now with this win, they're tied with the Saints and the Vikings at 7-7. So now there's a three-way race for that 7th seed. So should be interesting to see who gets a dub in the NFC. Already, if I had to pick, I'd say the Saints because of their schedule. And if they can stay healthy, then my mind's on Saints, but you don't know. Because the Vikings and the Eagles, with their formulas, they can be dangerous and a headache for any team. And then last but not least, for Week 15, the Rams Now, they're on that skid, that 3-game skid, and people are starting to doubt them. But now they're on a 3-game win streak. They beat the Jaguars, they beat the Cardinals, now they beat the Seahawks 10-4, tied with the Cardinals. Or what? They could potentially be the number 1 seed. You know, they would have to leapfrog all these teams plus Green Bay, but they're only 1 game out of the 1 seed. So it's totally possible that the NFC playoffs run through, including to the Super Bowl, so far, if that's possible. But yeah, good for Seahawks, or good for the Rams. Kept it close in being the Seahawks for most of the game, but Rams pulled away. And Cooper Kupp doing Cooper Kupp things. You know, the Seahawks, it's hard to say because this has got to be the last year of Russell Wilson in Seattle. I mean, I just don't see how he lasts past this year, but yeah, there's that. And now that's the end of Week 15 recap. Now let's get into it. Week 16 of the NFL season. Third to last week of the NFL season, regular season. Got, every week games get juicier and get more and get bigger as far as the implications go, and games are more intriguing. But we got a doozy to start. 49ers, now in 6th. They go to Tennessee to play the Titans. Now, 49ers are on a roll. They took apart Atlanta 31-13. Titans, again, they beat themselves. They have been beating themselves the last couple weeks. Julio, he got injured again in that game for Steelers. They may get AJ Brown back, which would be a huge plus. And this is a must win for Titans. I know with the Colts playing a eerie Cardinals game on Christmas, this is crucial for the Titans. And I'm going to call them out because I know they got to win this. They got to. 49ers 3.5-point favorite. Getting AJ Brown back. I'm not saying it'll be great, but they're going to get it done. 26-23. Maybe an third game, but yeah, I'm going with Titans. They got to get back on track. If they don't beat themselves, they can get it done. So then, Christmas games. 2 very intriguing games on Christmas. So, first one, Christmas afternoon. We got the Browns. 7-7 Browns. Now, they should get many of their players back from the COVID list. Baker, Hooper, Landry, etc. Going to Lambeau, which should be snowy. They say if it's snowy, that's going to be very intriguing because we know both these teams love to run the ball. And yes, I know Aaron Rodgers is used to snow, but with these aspects, Packers 7.5-point favorites. This, like the Titans, this is a must win for the Browns. If they lose this, they're basically done for the playoff race. And I love the Browns. I love the roster. If they're going to do it, I have to see it. So I got the Browns covering, but I'm going with the Packers. Get this done. They did not want to let go of the number one seed. They win 30-24. Packers get it done. Then Christmas night. Colts, who are running and running through the competition, go to Arizona to play a reeling Cardinals team that has lost 2 straight. Cardinals 1.5-point favorites. Now, both teams are good teams. Both teams, well, Cardinals, when healthy, I'd say both teams are dangerous. This just screams a running game for both teams. Because we know the Colts will love to run the ball. Cardinals, with their two-way monster, Chase Edmonds, another week. James Conner, another week. Should help. I know they don't have DeAndre Hopkins, but they just got so many playmakers across the board. I just can't see them falling 3 straight. And perhaps that loss to Detroit was a good thing. Perhaps it was a wake-up call. So, I'm going with Cardinals to cover and win 27-21 over the Colts. So then we got Sunday football. We got the Eagles now hosting their rival Giants, who I assume will start Jake Fromm. Mike Glenn, he was benched during the game. First the Cowboys. Eagles 10-point favorites. With the win now over Washington, Eagles now know they have a chance. And they're tied with the Vikings and Saints. So they have to know this is a must win. And they have to get it done. And so I think because it's the Giants' divisional opponent, they're going to be a headache because of that defense. It can still cause you problems, but I'm going to go with the Eagles here to win 26-14. Cover. Interesting one here. So we got the Rams. 3-point favorites going to Minnesota. Vikings. We'll get back Danielle Hunter off IR. A must win. More so for the Vikings in that three-way tie. If they want any shot. Excuse me. 1 sec. Better. But yeah, the Vikings want any shot at the postseason. They must win this. I think they can, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But I think the Rams, now knowing that they have a real shot to win not only win the division and get the 1 seed, I think they get this on 35-27 in Minnesota. Then we got part 2. Bills, Patriots, this time in Foxborough. Hopefully the weather isn't as terrible as it was in Buffalo. But I mean, Patriots 2.5-point favorites. Bills ran the ball very much more in their win versus Panthers. In that win, Patriots ran the ball 40 times. Only threw the ball 3 times. Josh Allen did what he could in that weather. I've gone back and forth, but the better team, I think, is Patriots. The better quarterback is Josh Allen. I'm switching up here. I had the Bills win, but I'm going with the Patriots. Get this on 30-28. Bills slightly cover, but Patriots win. So then we got going from Patriots to the Bucks. Buccaneers go to Carolina to play the Panthers. Bucks 10.5-point favorites. Likely no Leonard Fournette. Mike Evans have to see. But despite that, they still have Gronk. They still have Brady. I mean, they may get Antonio Brown on the field. Le'Veon Bell, we have to see. But I just cannot, in clean conscience, pick the Panthers in a game the rest of the season. So I'm going with Buccaneers win and cover 30-18. Bucks win in Carolina. Then we got a nice little dynamic in a so-so game. Jaguars going to the Meadowlands to play the Jets. Number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence. First number 2 overall pick, Zach Wilson. Jets 3-point favorites. Now, both defenses are not great, not very good. The offenses are suspect. Now, I like Elijah Moore and some of the running backs or the run game that the Jets have. I love Trevor Lawrence and I love James Robinson. I just think if they're going to get one more victory this year, this will be the game. So I got the Jags here 17-13. They get it done in the Meadowlands. Yeah, there's that. Then we got Detroit, the Lions. Now 2-win Lions. Going to Atlanta to play the Falcons, who pretty much are done after losing in San Fran. Falcons 5.5-point favorites. You know, Lions, they're playing for the coach. They're obviously playing for next year. I like the role. I like their intensity. I like the culture they're building. I just think with the Falcons right now, they don't really have anything to play for right now. So, especially with that loss in San Fran, I'm going with the Lions. First time I'm picking the Lions this year. I will do that. Or since Philly, since Philly. I will pick them 26-23. They get done. Or no, wait, 26-24. they get it done in Atlanta. Then we got the Chargers, who come off a heartbreaker in overtime against Chiefs. They go to Houston, play the Texans, off a feel-good win against Jaguars. But this is not the Jaguars for the Texans. Chargers know that they're fighting for the playoffs. This game, they let the Chiefs game get away from them. This game they have to have. Chargers win 34-23, 9-point favorites. They cover. Oh boy. Another good one. Ravens going to Cincinnati. Bengals 2.5-point favorites. Bengals, they've been kind of up and down basically since the first Baltimore game. But I mean, this can be a very high scoring game. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. This is for the North. And right now, although I like the fight of the Ravens, eventually it's hard to pick up. So I'm going to go with the Bengals. Get this on 31-27 in the jungle. So then we got the Seahawks losing against the Vikings, or facing the Bears, who lost to the Vikings. In Seattle, Seahawks 7-point favorites. Robert Quinn can mess up this game very much. But, right now you got two teams that are likely not going to the playoffs. Seahawks, if they beat the Rams, they would have had a chance, but now not likely. So, check really quick. 1, 2, 2, 3. I'm going with Seahawks here. 27-17. They cover. Bear quarterback Russell Wilson gets the win. Excuse me. Hopefully they get Tyler Lockett back from the COVID list. Now, this one's very interesting. So, this will definitely be an asterisk game. So, Steelers going to Kansas City. Chiefs 9.5-point favorites. But why is it an asterisk game? Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill both placed on the COVID list. If they're both out, that's going to be very interesting. Now, Chiefs defense, we know, is playing very good. Very good. And the offense could be better, but it's still performing well, despite some hiccups against Chargers. But for now, I'm going with the Chiefs to win 30-21 in Kansas City. There's that. Then we got Broncos going to Las Vegas. Both teams 7-7. Both teams heading in opposite directions. Raiders 1.5 point favorites. I mean, Raiders, I think, after that inspiring win, are still playing for the playoffs. And Derek Carr said this team is defined by adversity. And I mean, the Broncos, I don't know. It sounds like it's not going to be Teddy Bridgewater. It's going to be Drew Lock. So I'm going with the Raiders here, 28-22. Then Sunday Night Football. Cowboys host Washington. I'm not sure who's going to start quarterback for Washington, so that's enough for me to say, although we'll see. 26-19, Cowboys win. An intriguing way to end the week. Week 16. Saints host the Dolphins. 7-7 for 7-7. Dolphins have won 6 straight. But now they face the Saints. Both teams have stellar defensive play. Tua versus Taysom Hill. But I'm going to go with the Saints. Think they get the sun. 23-17. And the Superdome versus Dolphins. But nonetheless, those are my picks, and that's it for the episode. Yeah. A lot of stuff said over an hour, but yeah, good stuff here on the podcast, and that's the episode. Thank you all again for here. Again, I apologize because, with the postponing of the 3 games, I had to mix it up. So, but yeah, nonetheless, getting this on Wednesday. But yeah, next week, hopefully back to normal on Tuesday. But nonetheless, thank you all. Be safe. Be back next week. Peace.